Before you use ChatGPT to write your family court statement, watch this first. Because if your plan is to tell ChatGPT a bit about your case, ask it to write the most persuasive statement possible, and then ta-da, there's your finished statement, please don't.
ChatGPT, I love ChatGPT. I love it.
Now, I'm not going to tell you not to use ChatGPT. Other AIs are available. In fact, my advice on this has actually changed. But before we get into it, an important point. This video contains general information about family proceedings in England and Wales. It's not legal advice about your individual case. Every case is different. Your own court orders, evidence, procedural history, and the issues the court has directed you to address might require a different approach. Back in April 2024, I wrote an article called AI and Family Court. I'll link it in the description. And I was pretty sceptical. In fact, when it came to statements, I broadly ranked the options like this: professionally written first, writing it yourself second, AI written third. And I finished the article with the words, use AI at your own risk. So yes, this is me doing something relatively unusual on the internet, admitting that something I said 2 years ago now needs updating. AI has developed enormously since then, which is mildly inconvenient because it means I can't just sit here smugly saying, I told you so. I use AI extensively myself now. I've learned what it is very good at, but I've also learned what it is spectacularly bad at. And used properly, I now think that ChatGPT and similar AI tools can be extremely useful when you're preparing a family court statement. The important words there are used properly. Because, interestingly, most of the problems I warned about back in 2024 haven't actually disappeared. If anything, they're more obvious now because far more people are using AI. So here's my updated advice. The ta-da approach. Here's what I really don't recommend. You open ChatGPT and type something like, write me a persuasive statement for family court. Show that I'm a child-focused parent, that I've always supported my child's relationship with the other parent, and explain why my proposals are in the child's best interests. And ChatGPT says, certainly, and off it goes. 30 seconds later, ChatGPT has apparently become your solicitor, barrister, therapist, and slightly over-enthusiastic life coach. You now have pages of beautifully constructed prose. You are committed to promoting a meaningful relationship with both parents. You believe consistency and stability are paramount. You remain focused upon your child's emotional well-being. You have always sought to adopt a child-focused and cooperative approach, and you remain committed to constructive co-parenting going forward. If your statement manages to include child-focused, stability, meaningful relationship, emotional well-being, and constructive co-parenting in the same paragraph, congratulations, you have completed family court ChatGPT bingo. But there's one slight problem. What actually happened? I recently saw an AI-produced statement and parenting plan running to about 8 pages, where the child was barely mentioned. There was plenty about equal parenting, plenty about stability, plenty about meaningful relationships, plenty about being child-focused, but remarkably little about the actual child. And this is almost exactly what I warned about in 2024. AI does not magically know your family. It doesn't know your history. It doesn't know what you personally saw. It doesn't know what you personally heard. It doesn't know what happened at that handover. It doesn't know which bits of your case actually matter, unless you tell it. So if you give it a vague instruction to produce a persuasive family statement, it has to fill those gaps somehow. And what you tend to get is blah, very impressive, blah, but still blah. Yes, I can pretty much always tell. When I see a statement that's been written by AI, I can always tell. Now, I'm not claiming I can identify the precise model from, 3 paragraphs like some kind of AI god, but the style is normally pretty obvious. I remain committed to, I have consistently sought to, meaningful and loving relationships, stable and consistent routine, a child-focused approach, the best interests of the child. None of those expressions is wrong. I've probably used all of them myself. The difference is the context. When you've got page after page of incredibly polished, perfectly balanced language, but almost no dates, almost no examples, and surprisingly little about the actual child, it normally isn't difficult to work out what has happened. And if I've read 3 pages about your commitment to a meaningful relationship and I still don't know what happened last Tuesday, we've got a problem. And this is where people misunderstand what makes a statement persuasive. Don't ask AI to tell the court that you're child-focused. Give the court the facts that show that you're child-focused. So instead of, I have consistently sought to promote a meaningful and loving relationship between our son and both parents whilst prioritising his emotional well-being and maintaining a stable and consistent routine, tell me what you actually did. Since January, I have offered Dad alternate weekends and a Wednesday overnight. When Dad was working on 3 of his weekends, I offered replacement dates. The messages confirming those offers are exhibited at AB1 to AB6. Now we've actually learned something. The first version tells the judge what conclusion you would like them to reach. The second gives the judge facts from which they can reach their own conclusion. And that's a huge difference. The aim isn't to get ChatGPT to write the most persuasive statement possible. It's how you use ChatGPT to help you present your own relevant evidence as clearly as possible. Before you give ChatGPT anything, we need to talk about security, about privacy and confidentiality, because this bit matters a lot. Family court documents can contain extraordinarily sensitive information: children's names, dates of birth, addresses, schools, medical information, safeguarding allegations, police information, information about the other parent, and sometimes information about people who aren't even parties to the proceedings. Back in 2024, I wrote about a litigant in person I had seen in court. The judge asked whether he had prepared his material himself, and he rather proudly announced that he had used AI. He seemed to think that this was going to impress the judge. It had the atmosphere of somebody waiting for a Blue Peter badge. The judge did not have one available. He was given pretty short shrift, and one of the concerns raised was what information from confidential family proceedings had actually been put into an AI system. Now, that was one judge and one hearing. I'm not suggesting that every judge is going to react in precisely the same way, and I'm certainly not suggesting that simply using AI to assist you with documents is somehow automatically prohibited. It's not. But the privacy issue is still extremely important, because when you put information into an online AI service, you are sending that information to systems operated by somebody else. It isn't simply sitting privately on your laptop while a tiny friendly robot reads it. And you need to understand what the particular provider does with that information. With ChatGPT, for example, OpenAI currently says that content from services for individuals may be used to improve and train its models. You can opt out. If you turn off improve the model for everyone in data controls, new conversations are not used to train OpenAI's models. And this is important. Simply paying for ChatGPT Plus or Pro doesn't automatically mean that your conversations are excluded from model training. You need to check your settings. For business products, the position is different. OpenAI currently says that ChatGPT Business, Enterprise, and its API products are not used for model training by default. But there's another distinction people sometimes miss. Training and retention are not the same thing. OpenAI says it retains certain data from interactions, even though there are controls around whether that content is used for training. So not used to train the model does not automatically mean nothing exists on a server anywhere. Those are different issues. And different AI providers have different terms and different controls. So do check. The judiciary's current guidance on AI also specifically warns judicial office holders about confidentiality and tells them not to put private information into public AI tools. That guidance is, of course, directed at judges rather than litigants, but the confidentiality issue it identifies is very real. So please don't watch this video and come away thinking Neil says upload my entire court bundle to ChatGPT. I absolutely do not. Give AI what it needs for the task, not everything you've got. If the court has directed you to prepare a statement dealing with the current arrangements, difficulties since January, and your proposals going forward, perhaps you simply tell the AI that. It doesn't necessarily need 6 pages of an unredacted court order containing everybody's personal information. Minimise what you provide. Remove identifying information where appropriate. Understand the privacy controls of the AI you're using. And if you're dealing with particularly sensitive material and you're unsure whether it's appropriate to provide it to an AI service, obtain advice specific to your circumstances. Now we get to the useful bit. If I were using ChatGPT to help prepare my own statement, I would not start with write my statement. I'd start by making ChatGPT interview me. For example, I am preparing a witness statement for family proceedings in England and Wales. Don't draft the statement yet. First, ask me one question at a time so that you can understand the relevant facts, important dates, disputed issues, evidence I have, the other parent's position, the effect upon the child, and what I'm asking the court to do. Don't assume or invent any information. That's a completely different use of AI. Instead of, here's my story, make me sound convincing, you're saying, help me establish what information we've actually got. And if ChatGPT asks you something you don't know, say you don't know. If you can't remember the exact date, say you can't remember the exact date. If somebody else told you something rather than you personally witnessing, say that, because this is evidence. It's not creative writing. Under Family Procedure Rule 22.4, a witness statement is a written statement signed by a person containing the evidence that person would be allowed to give orally, and it must comply with Practice Direction 22A. Practice Direction 22A also requires the statement to distinguish between matters within the witness's own knowledge and matters of information or belief, and to identify the source of those matters. And that's precisely why you cannot allow AI to quietly blur those distinctions. Never let ChatGPT improve your evidence. This might be the most important rule for the entire video. Never let ChatGPT improve your evidence. Let it improve how clearly your evidence is presented. Those are very different things. Imagine you tell ChatGPT, I think Dad had been drinking when he collected the children. Then you spend 20 minutes saying, make that stronger, make it more persuasive, improve the wording. And eventually your statement says, Dad collected the children whilst under the influence of alcohol. Whoa, that isn't what you said. You said you thought he might have been drinking. Perhaps you smelled alcohol. Perhaps his behaviour appeared unusual. Perhaps somebody else told you he'd been drinking. Those may all be relevant facts, but they're not the same as knowing that somebody was under the influence. AI is very good at making language cleaner and more confident, and normally that's useful. In a witness statement, it can also be dangerous because uncertainty disappears. Belief becomes fact. Something somebody told you suddenly reads as if though you witnessed it personally. An allegation subtly gets stronger. And after 20 rounds of rewriting, you might not even notice that it's happened. No, put that down. Remember, you are signing the statement, not ChatGPT. Under Part 17 of the Family Procedure Rules, the maker of a witness statement signs the statement of truth, confirming that they believe the facts stated in it are true. And the prescribed statement of truth warns that contempt proceedings may be brought, that's contempt of court, against somebody who makes or causes to be made a false statement without an honest belief in its truth. So don't treat the statement of truth like the terms and conditions on iTunes. You know what I mean? You're not just ticking the box and just get rid of that screen. Don't scroll to the bottom going, yeah, accept it. Read it. Those are your facts above it. Let ChatGPT help with structure. At this point, you might say, for example, using only the information I've provided, suggest a logical structure for this witness statement. Do not add facts, allegations, or legal arguments that I haven't provided. Notice the fences I'm continually putting around the AI. Don't assume, don't invent, use only my information, don't draft yet, ask questions first. This is almost the complete opposite of write me a brilliant family court statement. And then I'd work section by section. Background, check it. Current arrangements, check them. Problems that have arisen, check it. Your proposals, check them. You control the document. ChatGPT assists. Nothing beats actual experience. And this is where I need to put a fairly substantial caveat around all of this. AI can know an astonishing amount. It can process information extremely quickly. It can compare documents, spot inaccuracies, spot inconsistencies, organise huge amounts of material. But there's one thing it doesn't have: actual experience. And in family court, that matters enormously. I correct ChatGPT all the time, sometimes because it is simply wrong. But just as importantly, sometimes it gives me an answer that is perfectly logical on paper, and I think, no, that's not normally how this actually plays out in a family court. Because I've been there, I've sat through the hearings, hundreds, thousands even maybe at this point. I've seen the questions judges actually ask. I've seen what CAFCAS officers focus on. I've seen arguments that sound absolutely fantastic in writing fall completely flat in a courtroom. And I've seen apparently minor facts suddenly become one of the most important questions from the judge. AI hasn't sat at the back of a family courtroom thinking, well, that didn't go exactly the way I planned. You weren't there, little robot. And this is why AI is not a substitute for genuine professional experience. It can complement experience extremely well. I use it a lot, but I challenge it constantly as well, using my experience. Sometimes ChatGPT tells me I'm wrong. Sometimes I tell ChatGPT that it's wrong. It's a very healthy relationship. And sometimes the issue isn't even that one of us is completely wrong. The difference is between what the rules technically permit, what theoretically could happen, and what judges tend to actually do in cases. That distinction is enormous. No AI can guarantee what a judge will do, neither can I, but actual courtroom experience provides context that simply reading rules and judgments can't. Which, incidentally, is another reason why this video isn't legal advice. It is guidance about how to use a tool. It can't tell you what your judge will decide or what strategy you should adopt in your own proceedings. Next point. Please don't try to sound like a barrister. This was another warning I gave back in 2024, and I absolutely stand by it. You do not get bonus points for sounding like a lawyer. You're a parent giving evidence. The court needs to understand what happened. So if ChatGPT gives you, the respondent has repeatedly demonstrated an unwillingness to facilitate and promote the child's meaningful relationship with the applicant, what does that actually mean? If what happens is, Mum cancelled 5 of the 7 weekends I was due to see Thomas between March and June, then say that. Give them the dates if you have them. Explain what happened. If your normal text messages consist of, yep, fine, 6 p.m. works, and suddenly paragraph 14 of your statement begins, I have consistently endeavoured to facilitate a meaningful and child-centred arrangement, someone's going to notice. Read your statement aloud. Does it really sound remotely like you? I'm not suggesting it needs to contain every spelling mistake and unfinished sentence. Obviously, AI can help make your writing clearer. But if a judge asks, what do you mean in paragraph 27 when you say the respondent's conduct has undermined the child's emotional security? You need to know what paragraph 27 means. I'm not sure, Judge. ChatGPT wrote that bit. That's not a great answer. Use ChatGPT against yourself. Here's one of the uses of AI that I think people massively underestimate. Stop asking it to agree with you. Once you have a draft, tell it to attack it. For example, do not rewrite my statement. Review it critically. Identify claims that appear to be unsupported by a factual example. Points from the other parent's position that I haven't answered. Places where I've assumed somebody else's motive. Inconsistencies in my account and questions I should be prepared to answer if challenged. Or approach this statement as though you disagree with me. Which parts of it would you challenge? Or if you were questioning me about this statement, what would you ask? At this stage, we've stopped asking ChatGPT to be your mum. Now we're asking it to be the annoying person on the other side. Because try to find the holes in your argument before somebody in court does. ChatGPT will not necessarily be right. It may identify something that isn't actually going to be a problem. You decide. And if something could materially affect your case, get advice. But as a second pair of eyes, extremely useful. Next one, check the law. There is another slight problem with generative AI. Sometimes it's wrong. And occasionally it is spectacularly confidently wrong. And this isn't even theoretical. It's actually happened in court. In 2025, the Divisional Court dealt with Ayindi and London Borough of Haringey and Al Haroun and Qatar National Bank. Those cases involved false or non-existent authorities being put before the court, and the judgment gave a significant warning about the risks associated with generative AI and the responsibility of lawyers to verify the material they put before a court. And it hasn't gone away. There was another published English judgment in April 2026 dealing with erroneous or false citations being placed before the court and the professional consequences that can follow. The judiciary's own AI guidance also specifically warns about hallucinations, convincing but incorrect or misleading information that is generated by AI. So when I tell you ChatGPT can invent case law, lawyers have actually been caught relying on fake authorities, professionally qualified lawyers, which does make me feel marginally better about the number of times I've had to tell ChatGPT, no, that case does not say that. AI hallucinations can be remarkably convincing. It can invent a case. It can give you the wrong citation. It can attribute a proposition to a real judgment that simply isn't there. It can produce something that looks beautifully authoritative and be completely wrong. So, don't assume a case exists because ChatGPT gives you an impressive citation. Don't assume its description of legislation is accurate. And definitely don't ask, are you sure? Get absolutely, and regard that as independent verification. I've tried that. It doesn't work. Check the actual source. Check what it's giving you against the actual legislation. Check procedure against current procedure rules and practice directions too. Check cases against the actual judgment or a reliable legal source. And even when AI gives you a technically correct statement of law, that still doesn't mean it understands how that issue tends to play out in an actual family court. Again, nothing beats experience. AI can give you the rule. Experience helps you understand what that rule actually looks like. At 10:30 on a Tuesday morning, when two parents, Kafkas and a district judge, are sitting in the same courtroom. And remember something else, your witness statement is principally there to give your evidence. It's not normally the place to decorate every paragraph with case citations to prove that you've discovered Bailey. No, put those down as well. The final AI pass. Once you think the statement's finished, I would use AI one more time. But at this stage, take the pen away from it. Don't say, improve my final statement. Instead say something like, do not rewrite this statement, audit it only. Flag repetition, generic language, unsupported assertions, places where certainty may have increased beyond my original evidence, statements about another person's motives rather than observable behaviour, and any paragraph that is difficult to understand. Explain each concern and let me decide whether to change it. That is ChatGPT's final job. After that, AI does not get the final word, you do. The human check. Now, read the statement yourself. Paragraph by paragraph. Ask, is this true? Is this actually what happened? Do I know this personally? If I don't, have I made clear where that information came from? Has any uncertainty disappeared? Has anything become stronger than the evidence I actually gave? Have I accurately described the messages, photographs or documents I'm referring to? Do I understand every sentence? Could I explain every paragraph if the judge asked me about it? Does this still sound like my evidence? And ultimately, am I genuinely prepared to put my name underneath the statement of truth? If the answer to any of those questions is no, you're not finished. And if paragraph 27 is so beautifully written that you have absolutely no idea what it means, paragraph 27 has to go. Sorry, ChatGPT. So, has my 2024 advice changed? Yes, it has. In 2024, I essentially said I would rather see somebody write their own statement than have AI write it. In 2026, I think that is too simplistic. AI has moved on enormously, and frankly, so has my understanding of how useful it can be too. ChatGPT can interview you, it can organise information, it can help structure a document, it can help complicated writing clearer, it can spot repetition, it can challenge assumptions and identify gaps, and it can stress test what you've written. All right, you can come back now. What it should not do is become the witness, because ChatGPT wasn't there. ChatGPT doesn't know your child. ChatGPT didn't receive the message. ChatGPT didn't attend the handover. ChatGPT didn't smell alcohol. ChatGPT hasn't sat through your hearings. And ChatGPT isn't going to turn up at court and take the blame when the judge asks where paragraph 27 came from, annoyingly. So my updated advice is no longer simply don't use AI to write your statement, it's use AI to help you prepare your statement. Don't outsource your evidence to it, don't outsource your thinking to it, don't ask the AI to tell the court you're child-focused. Give the court the facts that show whether you're child-focused. Never let ChatGPT improve your evidence, let it improve how clearly your evidence is presented. Use AI to challenge your draft, but don't let AI have the final word, because the best family court statement isn't the one that sounds the most persuasive. It's the one that gives the judge the clearest, most reliable picture of what actually happened. And that is really what this channel is about. If you're dealing with your own family court proceedings, subscribe, please, because the more you understand how the family court thinks, what it's actually looking for, and how it approaches evidence, the better equipped you are to understand what's happening in your own case. This channel isn't just telling you what rules say. It's about helping you understand how those rules actually operate in practice. And one final reminder, everything in this video is general information about family proceedings in England and Wales, not legal advice about your individual case. Your own court orders, evidence and circumstances may require a very different approach. If you need help preparing or reviewing your own statement, you can contact me at First Family Law using the details in the description. And as I say, please subscribe if you want to understand not just the rules of family court, but how family court actually thinks. Thank you.